Hi. I am so pleased to have this opportunity. Thank all of you very much. You see this? Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Wouldn't you agree with that Margaret Mead quote? It really does take just one person to say to another, "That's not right." Or somebody might say, "Do you want to work with me? That is really a problem." And soon others are joining, and then the momentum begins. The story begins here in the Berkshires, where we have many cultural and educational assets. And we have a beautiful river, the Hoosic River, which flows very fast, cool, naturally breeding trout. And you can see how lovely it is. But when it enters North Adams, it becomes really a constricted stream. Looks more like a drainage ditch. 10 to 20 foot high walls. This is the price North Adams pays for flood control. In the 20s, 30s, 40s, North Adams downtown was destroyed by the Hoosic River. And they asked the federal government, "Would you do something?" Well, that's what the federal government was doing in the 50s. So this is what we have, a 2-mile concrete scar in our downtown. But when that river leaves North Adams, it is really a beautiful river. So as it happens, I went to Providence, Rhode Island, and to San Antonio, Texas, on business about 20 years ago. I saw their downtown river. Look at this. Beautiful, really nice. People sitting along the river, having nice meals, enjoying the river. Businesses were there. Visitors came and spent time downtown. Well, I came home and said to my husband, "Why not North Adams? Why not North Adams? Can't we change that? We're a struggling former mill town. 55% of the people who live here are low income. We have people who come here to ski or to bike or to hike, but they don't stay. Look at those empty storefronts. But what we do have is the largest contemporary art museum in the country. And 150,000 people come here every year. But they don't stay either. We don't have enough to keep them here. Well, we started in 2008 as a small group, not knowing one thing about river restoration. Like, do you know what a fluvial geomorphologist is? We didn't either. But it's very important when you're doing this kind of work. We also didn't have the resources to hire consultants to help us learn what to do. But that didn't deter us either. We were so sure that if we could restore our river, it would help revitalize our city. Well, Soon we were a coalition. Businesses, foundations, individuals in North Adams and surrounding community were joining us. The local watershed association, the state. Here's another mouthful, the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration. Who knew they existed? Well, they do, and they are very important. The wonderful thing is that over time, all of those people made a leap of faith that, you know what, let's stick with this. I think it'll work. And many of them made a financial leap of faith. So that enabled us to start learning how to do this. How do we start? Well, the first thing we learned was why the river looked like that in that little ditch. That's the design from the Corps of Engineers, meant to look like that. Nothing can live in it. Nothing. It's unhealthy. Well, we also learned that the Corps of Engineers is the entity we have to go to change anything. And that reassured the public because we were hearing, I didn't hear it directly, but people were saying, because they were learning a little bit about what happens when you change the river, don't let that lady tear down our walls. Who knew I was so powerful? Well, so we learned about the Corps of Engineers, and we learned the city's relationship with the federal government. In 1950, they signed a contract saying they would be responsible for all repairs. Well, take a look at what we have here. We have, that's one of 5 20-foot wide panels that have fallen since it was constructed. And we learned there are 6 more that are leaning. Well, that was of some concern, and it was of some concern because $15 million was the cost of that project. How is the city going to pay for that? Well, there was some good news. And the good news was San Antonio and Providence are not unique. Cities from South Carolina to South Korea are all changing their downtowns. This is Greenville, South Carolina. You see there, I hope, there are what we call amphitheater steps down to the river, not a perpendicular wall. And then in Denver, you see something similar. This is a different design, but the purpose is the same. If you have that, when floods come, the water goes up, and then it goes down. So 99% of the time, you can see the river, you can be in the river, you can look at it. That's the modern way of doing things. And also in Denver, this is a great model for us. You can see they have walls. We're going to have walls in North Adams in some places. But what you see that looks like a river, it's called a low flow channel. They cut right into the concrete that you saw in those earlier pictures. That means fish can be in there, kayaks can be in there, people can be in there, and if you look closely, you can see there's a bike path and a walking path on either side. They have more space where they did this than we will, but we have a possibility of having bike path as well in our downtown. So when the city started hearing all of this, the good news and the bad news, they said, okay, find out about our river. What? Raise more money, find out what the engineers can do here. Get us some pictures. So we were about to do that when a tropical storm Irene, hit the Northeast and North Adams, really bad. The flood chutes were filled. Debris, noise, almost to the top, scaring everybody. And it sure changed their thinking about what we were doing. Stop. The message was, we're not interested. We have no interest in your fancy ideas. Well, we were down, but we weren't out. We scurried back to our organizational corner and said, okay, we've got to do as Margaret Mead says and be more thoughtful. Take into consideration that fear of flooding is a part of the hearts of many, many people here. So we said, okay, what can we do to make people think maybe riverside activities are fun? And that, yes, sometimes the water does rush fast, but most of the time it can be a community asset. So what you see there are a couple of the community gardens. We had the high school kids build raised beds. And we grew herbs, vegetables, and we had a pizza party there because right near that particular garden is a community pizza oven built by an artist who came to Mass MoCA. Now other people are going down to the river even though it still has that ugly fence. So that was one thing we did, and people kind of liked it. The other thing we did is remind them that this was a 65-year-old system. It was not in good condition, and storms are getting more serious. Doesn't it make sense for us to plan ahead? Maybe the walls won't save North Adams with the next storm. The next thing we did was more fun. And that was, we said, you know what? This is a beautiful valley we live in. We have quiet, scenic roads for biking. We have beautiful fall colors in our mountains, skiing. Do you really want to have an ugly concrete scar in the middle of all of this beauty? 2 miles of concrete, 45 feet wide? Well, they started changing their minds. That fear of flooding changed a bit to faith in what we were suggesting. So the message was, okay, get back to where you were 3 years before when we told you to stop. And so what they asked was, remember, they want designs for North Adams. So the designs for North Adams incorporated many of the things you saw in Denver and in Greenville. Amphitheater steps, low-flow channel, and also a meandering stream, not just a straight shot like the concrete. They loved them, and they said, okay, pick one. Pick anyone, we like it all, and get it done fast. Easy for them to say. Well, it did take several years because to have a design that we would submit to the Corps of Engineers for 1/2 mile, it's going to cost $500,000. So we talked with our elected officials, major stakeholders. We talked to the governor, the then governor, and said, how about North Adams? Boston gets a lot. Could we have $500,000? And he said yes. And that money was allocated to our project, and it was managed, however, by the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration. They are the specialists in choosing a firm, managing all that money and how the work gets done. So, this is what we have. It is a half a mile of, a healthy river. And I bet you're saying, wait, that's wintertime. Yes, this is a 4-season project. Where they play ball in the summer, we could have skating in the winter. And on the other side of that river is going to be a bike path, so you can go cross-country skiing there. And then in the summer, have all the traditional picnicking, paddling. Now you can see that bike path. So, in less than a decade, we've gone from dream to design. We do not have a shovel in the ground, but North Adams will have a 21st century flood-controlled, healthy, accessible, attractive river. There's no stopping us now. So now that you've heard this most unlikely story, and you've got that Margaret Mead quote in your heart, I hope you'll look around your world. What needs changing? What could be improved? What should be eliminated? I hope you're encouraged and inspired to make a change. All it takes is a small group. Thank you.